if I put something on TV, she's going to be busy with her phone. And then if she would be watching something on TV, I'd be busy with my phone and a laptop or a tablet. So I asked her, why is this? What was actually happening here? Turned out it was because of the kind of shows we watch. Now she likes to watch some Hindi daily soaps or some Pakistani drama shows. I like to watch some shows that are more science fiction or fantasy, for instance, Game of Thrones, Black Mirror, and such and such. And her reasoning for why she had no interest in what I watch was because it was not believable, right? Because stuff like that actually does not exist, and she would rather listen to something that is more close to reality. And that is something that actually pushed me or invoked this thought in me, what type of storytelling is actually good, okay? Now, time of the speech is 5 to 7 minutes. Start.
Already started.
No, now I'm starting.
Okay.
Okay?
Right, your time starts now.
That's fine. Use this.
Yeah. Now, everybody loves a good story. If you know me, you probably know I'm a huge fan of literature. Stories, they help you convey messages, lessons, they carry journeys, adventures, they have lessons, and all the good things. Stories have been a part of human civilization and our culture for thousands of years, and they've been told in many different mediums. In the older time, there used to be the good old verbal storytelling, there used to be theatrical plays, there used to be puppet shows. Nowadays, we have more technological advanced mediums, for instance, movies, audiobooks, and just plain old written books. All these stories, they tell different types of genres, but when you put them and try to categorize them into two particular things, they would fall down into two categories. One of them is, are these stories real? Or second, are these stories made up? Is it based on facts? Or is it based on fiction? Are they factually correct? For instance, documentaries, historical reports, biographies or autobiographies? Or are they fictional, as in fantasy, science fiction, anything that is created by someone that is not actually real? Now, some people believe that factual storytelling is better because it is more grounded in reality and it is more believable, whereas other people believe that fictional storytelling can convey the same messages that factual storytelling does, and it just might be better than that. My mother falls into the former category, I fall into the latter. Now, this is interesting to me because a person's definition of what is believable changes from wherever they are standing, and it will be different for every person as well. For instance, the types of shows my mother watches, she lets a lot of things slide because she's invested in the story. For instance, her daily soap show, it would say, the dead husband returned as a reincarnated goat. She would believe it. My mother would be like, well, we are Hindus. We believe in reincarnation. It has been part of our mythos for a while. That's just totally believable. Yeah, he's back as a goat. Okay. Then the story would say, the dead child actually has a doppelganger who he has never met. My mother would go, oh well, doppelgangers exist. It is possible for two or more people to have the same face. It's believable. I believe this. And then the story would go, two women who have never met each other, who are pregnant as well, gave birth to two boys at the same time at two different parts of town. But these two children were actually reincarnations of two twin brothers who died, which were birthed by some other mother, and now they are back for revenge. And my mother at this point says, haha, that's just good TV. But then at this point, I would come in and I would put on Game of Thrones, and there would be dragons and white zombies and the show. And at this point, my mother would be like, what? Zombies, dragons? No, this does not exist. I cannot watch this now. And she would leave the house. She would leave the room. Now, why is this funny? Why do I think that this is hilarious? It's because I believe that you suspend your own disbelief based on what interests you. If I'm talking about myself, what interests me, why I prefer fantasy or fictional stories more than factual stories, is because reality is boring, guys. We live reality. We live in these lives. We are bound by the laws of physics and everything that is happening right now. I do not want to be watching or reading stories about the things that are happening the same. What does interest me are dragons, magic, cyborgs, science fiction. For instance, you decide. There are two scenarios. There are two different stories being portrayed in front of you. Scenario A. So, it was a bright sunny day in Lambton College. Our protagonist woke up and he was worried because today he knew it was his test. Was he going to be passing the test or is he going to be failing? It was very stressful. Okay, scenario A. Then we have scenario B. It was a bright sunny morning in Lambton School of Dragon Riding. Our protagonist woke up, he looked outside to his table and he could not find his dragon. This worried our protagonist because today was his dragon riding test. Now, how will he find his dragon? Will he be able to pass his test? You tell me, which scenario looks more interesting? Would you rather know if the student passed or failed his test, or if the student found his dragon to pass his test or not? Dragon, yes, that's the right answer, yeah. Now, why is this important? Why is this necessary? Because it can give you the same context that you're getting from a regular story, but with an interesting twist that could actually get you hooked. Another reason fictional stories are good is because today the place that we are in, humanity as together, everything has to be very politically correct. We are a very PC society. We cannot talk about things that people are not comfortable with talking. We cannot mention stuff that other people frown upon because it is just not a polite thing to do. Whereas when you're writing fictional stories, you can address these things and cover them with metaphors. For instance, J.K. Rowling in her books very cleverly addressed the slavery problems by addressing the house elves. And to be very honest, that helped me understand the concept of slavery better than any of my history books did. So even though my mom and I, we stand on different sides of the spectrum, that does not mean either one of us is right or wrong. Like I said, it's a spectrum. Everybody has their own opinion. Everybody is entitled to their own choices. And you cannot negate the fact that factual stories or, well, reports, they are very important. For instance, famous philosopher George Santayana, I believe, mentioned people who do not learn from their past are bound to repeat those mistakes. So you cannot outweigh the merits of one over the other because they do not exist. It is all about what you prefer, what you like. And that's it. Thank you.